Hi, welcome. This topic will show you how to solve proportions that end up having quadratics with them. Quadratics just means that you have a variable with a 2. So let me just put my pen. So if you have x squared, that's a quadratic. If you have 3a to the second power, that's a quadratic. So we're just gonna, they seem a little bit scary, but the way that you end up solving them, to undo a squared term, you would square root it. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So you might want to have a calculator ready. So here we go. Let's say that we have a problem that is 4 over x equals x over 9. So I have a couple other videos that show you how to solve proportions. I'm not going to go super in depth, but I will show you the basics. When you have a fraction equaling a fraction, that is a proportion. There's an equal sign between them. So we're going to cross multiply to solve. Cross multiply means this. We're going to multiply the 4 with the 9. So I'm just going to write out what our brain is. This is like my brain step. You don't always have to show this part for work. And that's going to set equal to x times x. So this is what your brain needs to process that you're going to do. 4 times 9 gives us 36. X times x gives us x squared, and there's our quadratic. So if we want to solve this for x, we're undoing a square. The only way to undo a square is to square root it. It feels a little bit different to people because we don't see it a whole lot. And a lot of people, when I say, hey, what is the square root of a number, they feel like they should be dividing by 2. But if we're taking the square root of 36, we're not going to divide it by 2. We have to ask ourselves, what number times itself gives us 36? There is some number out there times itself that will give us 36. And the answer to that is 6. 6 times 6 would give us 36. So the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of x squared is x. All right, let's do another problem. Let's say that we have y over 9 equals 16 over y. And again, if you don't have your math facts mastered down to what 9 times 16 is, you might want to grab a calculator, keep it handy. So again, we're going to cross multiply to solve this. So y times y, this time I'm not going to write down what our brain has to do. I'm just going to go right to what y times y is, and that would be y squared. We set that equal to what 9 times 16 is. And if you want to grab a calculator, you'll see that when you multiply 9 times 16, you should get 144. This number is another perfect square, which means that there's a perfect integer, that when you multiply it by itself, it will get 144. They don't always work that way. So to get y by itself, we're going to undo the squaring. So we square root both sides. And the square root of y squared is y. The square root of 144 is 12. And honestly, I didn't mention this in the last problem, but we should technically also say that one of our answers is negative 12. Your calculator won't tell you that, and depending on what level of algebra you're in, your algebra book might not bring that up right away. The reason why that negative 12 is also an answer, well, let's just go back to checking 12. If we multiply 12 times itself, that will equal 144. That seems fine. But if you multiply negative 12 times a negative 12, well, the negatives will cancel out, becoming positive. So we technically do have 2 roots for that, or 2 answers. All right, let's do one more problem. Let's see. Let's say that we have m over 25 equals 9 over m. Again, we're going to go through and we're going to cross multiply. M times m gives us m squared. If we have 9 times 25, think of 9 quarters in your pocket. That would be $2.25. Just removing the decimals. But again, just grab your calculator. We need to square root. Square root of m squared is m. The square root of 225, this is another perfect square. That will give us 15. And again, if you're more in a upper level algebra class, remember that also negative 15. Negative 15 times negative 15 would give you a positive 225. Let's do one final problem where we have, no, this will end up being a decimal answer. It won't be a perfect square. So let's say we have 3 over b equals b over 7. And then what we want to do is the same as what we have been doing. We want to cross multiply. 3 times 7 gives us 21. Set that equal to the other cross products. And again, just like the other three problems, we unsquare by square rooting. And then if you just grab your calculator, I don't have that memorized, it's going to be 4.582, we'll say to the nearest tenth. So if I have 4.58, the nearest tenth is this place, and the 8 is big enough that it's going to make that 5 go up a notch to 0.6. All right, so that would be your answer, and we should also include negative 4.6. So those would be both of our answers. So if you don't have a perfect square, just grab your calculator, you're looking for the square root button, and that should take care of it. I hope this helped.